Hi, my name is George. I've been an optician for 38 years, and today I'm going to show you how to align these frames for standard alignment, and then I will show you how we fit these on a patient. Here I'm going to show you how to put a 4-point rimless into standard alignment. As you can see, the frame is somewhat misaligned. The temples aren't really lined up that well. The nose pad is too far on the one side from the front of the frame. We're going to do that part first by taking our nose pad pliers, gripping onto the gooseneck and pushing it forward gently. And we're fairly close there. Just give it a little nudge. And there we have the two aligned, ready to try on a bridge. The next thing we have to do is make sure that this temple that is far exceeding the limits is brought into alignment. If I look at them from this side, this has about the right pantoscopic angle, and this one does not. So this one has been raised on this side. Using our double fiber tip pliers, we'll get a grip on this. And using our pliers here, I'm going to try to get a little tougher grip on this. We'll get a hold of the corner and bend it down like so. And I should be fairly close here. And as you can see, they're in standard alignment with the table. Now if we look at the temples this way, you'll see that this temple is straighter and this one is curved more in. So we're going to bring this one curved in a little bit more to match the line of the skull. That can be achieved by hanging on to this part of the temple and with the thumb and forefinger just gently putting a little bit of pressure as you go down the temple, curving it in. And now we have approximately the same curve on each side. We check for our alignment by closing the temple tips to see that they line up properly. And as you can see, they don't quite. So again, using our fiber tip pliers, we will hold onto this side here without squeezing too hard to break the lens. We fold that one in, and now we will use our needle nose pliers and gently bring this temple up. Like that. And now our frame is in standard alignment. And now I'll bring a Rimlon frame into standard alignment. The first thing we're going to look to see is why this temple is that much higher than the other one. If we look down the front, we'll see that the front has been scissored. This side is out more than this eye. So the first thing we have to do is take a hold of our frame gently around the bridge and bend it gently until we get it aligned as such. Now what happens is as we lay it down, this was the problem, not the temple. Because as you can see, we're now aligned with the table. But we have this temple going in much more of an angle than this temple. So this is where we use our single fiber tip pliers. And we gently take a hold of the corner and gently bring it in. A little bit more. And now our two temples line up perfectly well. We check our pads to see that they're aligned properly, and they're at about the right angle, about 30 degrees, 33 degrees in each direction. Lastly, we'll check to see if we're aligned this way. And as you can see, this temple is down more than that one. This is where we'll take our fiber tip pliers this time, grip this side of it, holding closely to the lens. We just bring it gently up until the two temples cross each other at about that angle. Now I'll show you how we standard align a plastic frame. This frame, as you can see, has been bent out at the bridge opposite. We're going to heat the bridge up. Heat the front and back equally. We don't want one cold side. We then take a hold of the bridge this way and just gently put a face form on the front, about that angle. Now when we lay them down, we can see that there's still one temple higher than the other. To assess which temple is the problem, we'll look at the miters on them. This miter is separated from the top more than from the bottom. This miter is perfectly aligned. So this would be the one that we would deal with. The best way to handle that is to hang on very tightly to the shoulder, bring the temple in slightly, and up until the miter aligns like that. Now when we put the frame down, there's no movement because both miters are aligned perfectly. And now we'll standard align a full metal frame. As you can see, this frame has a large wrap on the front of it. It also has one pad that goes in that direction while the other one goes in that direction. So let's first align the pads. We'll take our needle nose pliers, we'll take this pad and bring it down so that it's now in line with the other pad. We're then going to take out our wrap and give it a natural face form. Holding thumbs on each side, fingers on the other side, we just gently bend out as we take the wrap out of the frame. The frame should have about a 6 to 8 degree wrap. Placing the frame down, you can see we have one temple that's higher than the other. As with the plastic frame, our first thing that we do is we're going to check our miters. This miter is lined up very, very well, as you can see. This miter, on the other hand, touches on the bottom well before it touches on the top. So this is the one that will have to come up to fill that gap. We'll do it this way. We're going to take hold of the frame with our fiber tip pliers, and we're going to gently put the frame up a little bit more. And that miter is now lined up very, very well, as you can see. So when we place the frame down, we're very, very close. Just a little bit more to bring the miter into place. And the frame's lined up perfectly with the table. And as you can see, our temples curve slightly, which is what we want to accomplish because the head is curved. Come in with this frame that's a 4-point rimless, and it's misaligned. I don't know what she's been doing, but we're going to try to straighten it out for her today. As you can see, she's got it down on the one side, and if we put the head down, you can see it's considerably closer to one eye than the other. We'll get the chin up again, and you can see the bridge is not aligned properly. This nose pad is going this direction, and this one's kind of going straight up and down. We're going to try to make all of this fit her properly. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to make the frame even from one eye to the other. The best way to handle 4 points is if you have a double fiber plier. You take a hold of the fibers, the plaque on the front, fiber on the back, using another plier. You will turn it in, holding firmly with the double tip pliers. And that looks fairly close, but we'll double check that on her. The head down again. A little bit more, this has to come out. So again, we'll take the fiber tip pliers. We'll take our other plier, grasp the shoulder, and roll it in. You can also see that this is bent considerably. The temples are askew. This one is obviously too high. Again, we'll take our fiber tip pliers and hold firmly to the fiber and the plaque. We can now take this plier and bend it down in that direction. And as you can see, we're really quite close. Just a little bit more fine tuning. You're holding on to that plaque so that you don't chip the lens or break the lens. There we are. And now to straighten our front, we're going to have to bring this side here just down a little on this side. Again, taking our fiber tip pliers, we get a firm grip on the plaque, and we bend this one slightly down to make up the difference for her ears. Because not everyone has ears in exactly the same place. And just a little bit more. And we want to just bring this up a little. And there we have a nicely aligned front. And as she puts the head down, you can see that we have them about the same distance in front of each eye. Now we'll proceed to the temple tip. Thank you. And again, you can see that it's too far back from her ear. We put our finger up here. There's our bending point. Now our bending point was just beyond that curve, so we straighten that curve out and restart our curve here. And again, we have that curve for the ear, and now we'll make the curve for the mandible. Holding firmly here and here, you push the thumb in the middle. And when we turn, we can bring that down just a little bit more. And there's our fit. And we would repeat that on the other side. This is a Rimlon frame that Bailey's wearing, and it's misaligned by a lot. As you can see, it's not aligned across the front. It's also closer to one eye than the other, and the pads are not anywhere near the alignment they need to be at. Okay. So we'll start by getting the frame aligned for the face form, taking a hold of the shoulder, bringing it out a little bit, and we have it aligned that way. And as you can see, they're about the same distance from Bailey's eyes. It's still too far out, however, because the pads are pushed back too far. So the next thing we'll do is we'll bring the frame in closer to her face. We don't want a vertex distance of that far. Taking a hold of the nose piece with the pad pliers, you can push it down towards the front of the frame and twist it out a little bit of an angle. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. We're going to watch now that these will fit on Bailey's bridge equally on each side. And as you can see, the one is still back a little bit farther than the other. So we're going to bring this one in. This one has to come a little bit closer. Now we're lining up properly with Bailey's bridge. Again, we'll check the side and see what kind of curve we have going here. Not a good one. So again, we'll start up here, and we're going to bring this piece around using the rule of thumb. And as you can see, we're about this far from where the bend initially started. Again, we take our fingers here and we get that straightened out, and then we start where our finger would normally go this way. And that's about the curve behind Bailey's ear. We now have to do the mandible, holding the top of the temple and the bottom here. We push into the middle and against on the outsides. And as we put it on, we're very close, and they're still warm enough that we can take a little bit more and bring that down just a little bit closer. And we now have a fit behind Bailey's ear. This frame is out of alignment by a lot. But we're going to make this frame fit on Bailey today, and I don't think her ear is quite that far down on the one side. The lens, or the front of the frame, shows that it's been scissored. It's also been brought in more on one side than on the other. So we'll straighten those out before we try them on Bailey today. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to bring the frame back into alignment this way, as such. The next thing we want to do is bring it into alignment this way. This one's going out more than this one. We heat the shoulder well, inside and out. And using our fiber tip pliers, we grip inside the metal here and outside the plastic and gently turn it outwards. It's also still not straight on the table this way, so we will bring up the temple tip so that the miter lines up properly on both sides. And we're close. Now if you look, we have to bring this side in to make it equal with that side. Again, heating it both inside and out to make sure the shoulder has enough heat on it before we bend it. Again, we'll take our fiber tip pliers and gently roll the shoulder in. Until we have them at an approximate same angle on each side. Now that we've cooled this off enough, so we don't burn Bailey, we're going to try this frame on her. The first thing we look for is it plain, is it straight across the brow?
We'll call for a little more heat here.
And as you can see, it's a little bit down on this side here. So we will bring it up by simply bringing down the hinge on that side. And her eyes are very well centered in there. The next thing we want to look for is down through the top. Just head down a little bit. And we can see that this one is closer to that eye than this one is. That means we have to take the frame and skew it this way. In order to do that, we'll have to bring this shoulder in more than it is currently. That should bring that into alignment on Bailey's head. And now they're equal from eyelash to eyelash. Good face form on the front. We also want to make sure that we're not touching anywhere down the side here. Along the skull, we've left room. And now the last fitting point are the 2 points on the temple. You can see that there's a lot that needs to be bent back here. And so we'll place our finger here, and the same on the other side. There's a lot. And we'll place our finger right at the top of the ear again. And this is where we're going to bend them. Placing our temple tip where we wanted the bend to be, we just use the rule of thumb and bend it around our finger until we get a nice curve like that behind the ear. We then want to follow the mandible and put an indent like so. We're going to follow the skull with this one, as well as behind the ear. So when we place this on, we can now see that we're much closer, and we need to bend just a little bit more to bring it around. And it's still warm enough at this point in time to do that. And that should fit directly behind Bailey's ear, leaving just enough room for her to have a little bit of play. Now Murray's come into our office with a frame that's really poorly adjusted. We're going to try to straighten it out on him today. And most of the problem starts again with the scissoring of the front. The front is down on this side, up on that side. We can do that simply because of the frame being a whole frame by taking our fingers on each end and just straightening it out this way. Now the nose pads are also askew, and we're going to put the pads back into alignment before we try it on him again. We'll use our nose pad pliers, and as you can see, the one pad's out much further from the frame than the other one. So using our nose pad pliers, we'll take a hold of it this way, and we'll push back towards the frame and slightly turned in that direction there. Little bit closer. Okay. Now we can see that they're off this way again. This one's bent that direction more than this one. So we're going to bring this one in using our single fiber tip pliers. Perhaps a little much. Like that. Now we have approximately the same angle on each edge of the frame from the shoulder. Okay. We're now going to try to align them on Murray so that they're level with his face. And it looks to me like this side here, the miter is not quite lined up properly. So we'll have to take this temple and bring it up until the miter lines up. And even that doesn't bring it truly back into place. So we're going to move the shoulder from here up in that direction, holding firm to the eye wire of the frame. And now we have a frame that's lined up perfectly on the table. We'll now see if that lines up on Murray. He's a pretty level-headed fella. We'll just get him to put his head down, and again you can see we're closer to one eye than the other. This one's closer than this one, so we'll have to bring this temple in to bring this part of the front out. Again, using our fiber tips, we bring that in a little bit more on this shoulder. Now when we place them on, they're the same distance from each eye. We'll turn the head this way a little bit and we'll check to see where the fit is behind the ear. As you can see, we have quite a bit behind the ear. So again, we'll use our rule of thumb starting from this point. We're going to bend the frame right there. Straighten the temple out before you start this procedure because you're going to want to start your bend right here. And you bend it around your thumb, getting that nice curve for the rule of thumb. Now we're going to put the mandible bend into it, which follows the mandible joint behind the ear. We'll even cool this for you, Murray. And as you can see, we have just a little bit to bend down at the bottom to bring it in a line with the ear. It's still warm enough to do this. We are now following the line of the ear. And we would repeat that on the other side.